RTD News updates. And as you can tell from today's title, Congress is coming after your 401k. America's pension crisis is getting worse. I'm going to be covering several different articles, all dealing with the ongoing pension crisis we're experiencing here in America and what is to come. And so we're only 4 days into the new year, and already we have news about countries deciding to remove themselves or rethink the dollar, or aka dump the dollar. President Erdogan in Turkey tells his citizens in order to help the country out, it'd be in your best interest to go under your pillow, grab the dollars, the euros, and gold. And as you tell from today's title, how the baby boomers will lose their retirement nest egg, I want to share with you a couple thoughts as well as some articles on how the next market correction will be catastrophic for a lot of people. Always cash crisis worse. About Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing on their called monetary awareness. All right, we're live for a little RTD News Update midday stream. Excited to be back for another week of activity, another week of things to talk about. So hope everyone had a great weekend as best as you could. And so curious to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. Feel free to let me know via chat, and then we can make this discussion go a little smoother. So welcome. Let me check in via chat real quick. And then I got a lot of articles I want to share with you, get through them as fast as I can and get your thoughts on it. So in the chat, we have Yakar Mamba 0801, if I'm saying that correctly. Appreciate you for tuning in. We got Sean. We got Antanis says how many subscribers this dude has. William, we got the Protocol Professor, DB Stupid, Spirit King, Pabar, McLovin. So I appreciate everybody taking time to join the stream. And so, not surprised at all, as things continue to crumble, there's more and more windows and lending opportunities and just the very narrative of the Federal Reserve continuing to open up lending facilities. And it's one of those things that where they're playing on words, because as we've learned, there's no such thing as lending when there's no one to actually be able to repay. And so basically the bailout continues on. So I got an article I want to share with you and talk about Mr. Warren Buffett, how he's exiting, and there's continuing to be that push for cryptocurrency from our politicians now. So not surprised at all. And so, before I dive into these articles, as always, for those that are tuning in, let me know where you're watching from. Any new viewers, feel free to let us know what neck of the woods you're watching from. We'd love to acknowledge your presence. And then also, beneath this video here, there's some social media options where you can connect with Rethinking a Dollar, just in case we're disconnected here on YouTube, which I'd imagine is probably coming one day soon. So, let me get right to the very first article, and then we'll go from there. And so I actually highlighted some things that make things flow a little smoother today. And so here we have an article from something announced last week but takes effect as of this current month. And it says, New York Fed says it will begin buying ETFs in early May. And so this opening of a credit facility to corporations outside of all the things that they've already done, it makes up the 9th lending program. And it's packaged up as an emergency program, but yet there would be no need for all these newly additional created mechanisms if we were not experiencing complete dire situations right now in the global economy, nevertheless our own personal economy here. But I'm going to actually thumb through some things here and then go to the very next one. And as always, I'll put this in the chat for those to be able to find out more for yourself. And so here we got the Federal Reserve is close to standing up to 2 corporate lending programs that could buy up to $750 billion in debt and exchange traded funds under its emergency actions. So once again, these are just things that are newly created but coming out of their toolkit, which only furthers the pain, economic pain that's underway. And so what's very interesting, it says the corporate facilities are among the 9th emergency lending programs announced by the Fed to help prop up, probably more of a better word, the U.S. economy from the pandemic and keep credit flowing. So everything we're experiencing as far as these windows has been opened up are all in line with keeping credit flowing, keeping the system going. Credit is the lifeline for our economy and the global economy at that point. It says the move was dramatic escalation of the central bank's intervention, stepping into the corporate debt market for the first time since the 1950s. And so once again, they've packaged all these new investment tools or investment vehicles, ETFs. You got the debt market. We got all the derivatives and all the other stuff out there that's all newly created within the last 30, 40 years that were good investments for people to hold their funds into in an environment where it was somewhat positive. But now, being in a negative interest type of environment, these things are problematic. So the only people who can actually show some type of support for these products happen to be the central banks that are in alignment with the commercial banks to keep them liquidated during this time. So once again, this is the 9th window. I'd imagine there's a couple more windows coming for products that, once again, I'm not even aware of. But yet, curious to find out what you guys think. I'll put this article in the chat here. Feel free to read more for yourself. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. We got Sean from Lake Arrowhead, California. We got Greg from Ohio. We got Truth or Nothing, 1 billion in silver, Buffett of silver. We got Professor Curtis from Oakland. Appreciate you tuning in. We got Mateo from Truck Key, California. Okay. So more people tuning in. I appreciate you guys for chiming in. And so what I want to do with these news updates is just share with you some of the top headlines and give you the alternative perspective. Because once again, the mainstream media will just tell you, they'll always spin things in a positive sense, even though we're well beyond the Great Depression 2.0. But yet they're still talking about we could be entering into a recession. And once again, when you have all-time highs and everything negative, that lets me know that we're beyond the point of a recession. They need to pay unemployment cause of states is garbage. Oh, yeah, unemployment, that's a whole other fiasco. So it was a 30 million last week. And so this week it's probably be 35, 34. And so once again, I don't see any windows being opened up to provide extra cushion for the for workers that are not able to go back. And then also, depending on what state you're in or what neck of the woods you're in, what's the reopening process like in your area? I'm curious to find out, because here in the great state of Michigan, we've just been extended until the end of this month. So beyond them giving us and determine what's essential and what's not essential, a lot of the things still remain closed outside of things that were already pretty much open. So we got Kathy from Arizona. Appreciate you tuning in. Do one last good deed, buy silver. Buffett, when it comes to buying silver, he had his run in, was it 20 years ago? Yeah, roughly 20 years ago in the early 2000s when he was kind of forced to sell his hoard or sell his stash. And then that provided him some cushion for the Great Recession, because he was bailed out. Berkshire Hathaway was, I'm sure, a recipient of a lot of stimulus and quantitative easing. But this go around might be a little different, because I got an article here I want to share with you. Let me get into this next one. And then also, for those that might have interest, let me show you something from the Federal Reserve directly that can shine more light on those lending facilities that I was referring to. So here's something from the end of March, and I'm assuming it might have been updated, but this is just something that came up. But here is a list of all those other facilities or lending windows or emergency stimulus packages, window, whatever they call them. And so here's all the acronyms here. We have the Exchange Stabilization Fund. We got the PMCCF. We got the SMCCF. We got the ABS, the TFAL, the SBA. And so here's more information here if anybody wanted to dive further into this. But yet, what I've noticed is that a lot of commentators now, especially those that are well known, they focus on diving deep into the details of how things are unwinding. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think the how is important as to the what's next and what's coming, so people can actually take action steps now. Like knowing how all this stuff works and how the certain systems are coming apart it's all fine and good, but what can people do? And that's why I think concept of getting your weight up, as well as looking for alternatives to get out of this system as it crumbles, is information that more people should take heed of. So, but I'll put that in the chat if anybody want to watch it. And then also, Jay Radical, I appreciate that love offering to the channel, my friend. That is a blessing. I appreciate that. And then we have a question here. It says, Austin, Texas, 25% open, no bars or saloons yet. We're thinking, okay. And so I saw some articles about people that are willing to open and face the risk of a fine or being arrested. So there's a barbershop somewhere on the East Coast that they opened up. They had a line around the corner, and the police came, and the title mentioned something about arresting. And then also on the Rethinking the Dollar blog, I posted a video, or not a video, but an article about the people who are trying to be, I guess, law-abiding citizens, or not necessarily law-abiding citizens, but they're willing to call the law enforcement on their neighbors, and they're labeled as snitches. The article is, snitches get stitches. And so some of the information that was provided was leaked out as public information. And so people are concerned now with, people showing up at their doorstep because they snitched on their neighbors. So, I guess, was it worth it at the end of the day? Not sure. Sonya said Michigan is booty with the whack governor. Whitmer, yeah, she's a piece of work. Texans only like Whataburger. Okay, Whataburger. Not sure. I'm not familiar with that one. Mike, you're a smart man. You know your stuff. And Oscar Purpose sent me over here wishing you the best. Melody, I appreciate you. So I try. I'm just a man with an opinion that's concerned about the direction of this country, nevertheless, this planet we're on in general. So I question everything, and of which I think a lot of people should do as well. But I'm rambling too much. Let me get into the meat and potatoes for discussion. So more news from Uncle Sam. So Treasury. $4 trillion funding task signals record auction slate. So we have the quantitative easing, which is a policy from our central bank on the monetary side, and then we have this fiscal stimulus, fiscal easing, which is this increase in debt that will never be repaid, but yet will continue to grow, which is more of a sign as to why people should really begin unplugging themselves from conventional financial information as well as financial practices, because they're going to inflate away everything that was considered safe haven, such as government debt, and now it's going to be your biggest liability one day. But here's a graph that I wanted to put out there, because it says debt projection exceeds the economic output. So at this current point, and if I put up the U.S. debt clock, you'll see that our GDP is contracting while our debt is exploding. So it's only going to further this gap, which it shows here, which at this current moment, 108%, which means if you were to look at this as a normal person's household expenditure and finances, they're 8% over what they could ever begin to repay. So basically the credit card has been tapped. Now they're borrowing even more. And common sense to me would tell you that there's going to come a day where the debt will be due and it will not be able to be repaid. So what are they going to do? Try to roll it over, create more, because that's how the system operates. So here's more information as to all the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year treasuries they're trying to throw out there as assets, but yet who's going to buy it other than central banks? So yeah, that's legalized counterfeiting, if you ask me. But I'll share this if anybody wants to dive further into it for yourself. And so let me check in via chat. It says, did you see the Zero Hedge article? Let me know what you're referring to, because I do follow Zero Hedge articles quite heavily. Low blood pressure from Corpus Christi. Beaches are open. No Californians welcomed. That's not nice, man. It's not nice at all. Let me keep moving, though. Here's another thing worthy of talking about. It says this year, and this is from Market Watch. And so once again, it's the number I want to focus on at the percentage we're being told. It says this year is lining up exactly like the 2000.com bubble crash. Stocks will drop 40% from here, former Goldman manager says. So whenever I see this initial number, I like to take it even further, because 40 is probably being very conservative in comparison to all the emergency measures we're facing, and the fact that we're officially at war, according to all the mainstream narratives, because they use words such as frontline workers as well as invisible enemy and what all the other words they use, which lets us know that we're fighting an enemy. Apparently we're supposed to be fighting an enemy that we can't even see. So how do you really combat that? And so of course they promote, you have to get vaccinated. We can't really really control this thing until there's a vaccine. But once again, we're told 18 months, but then I heard something about it's 2 months. The test trial is away. So take it for what it's worth. But in the meantime, our economy is crumbling. And this is all about the financial matters that impact people directly, where it will hurt along with everywhere else. So, but 40%, I've heard I've had people on the show, I think even Jim Willie hinted at that it's going to be 70, 80%. So if you kind of know 70, 80% is coming, Hopefully by now, anything of true value to you, you've already removed it from the system as best as you can. And whatever else that might remain there, you'll be willing to lose if it comes to it, such as corrections such as these. And so more information here. If you guys are interested, I'll put it in the chat and let you thumb through it. So we got a couple more articles here. And then we're going to connect again this evening for a little live stream. And I'd love to take some calls and hear from people out there. And so it says, will the auto companies restart production? There's an article out there about the ports in California. And somebody from California, let me know if you happen to have seen this. But there's buku SUVs piled up in California. And of course, here in Metro Detroit area, all the facilities are shut down. And so all the lots are closed. So the lots are empty. But yet, I'm not quite sure, apart from using government provided stimulus directly to the public, such as the, unemployment, or I got articles here that their politicians are encouraging Treasury to really speed up that whole cryptocurrency, digital currency payment processing mechanism. So if that comes, I can see people using their stimulus or their unemployment to go out and finance, cars. But, to go into debt right now is not something you want to do unless you're using it to benefit yourself in the long run. It says, do you think we will be in a digital currency beginning in 2021? Truth or nothing? I believe that is the plan. And so let me get to that article, and let me pull that article up here. So I'll go right to the article here. So here's an article here that lets me know that it's a part of the plan. And so here we have, it says 11 members of Congress urged Treasury Secretary Mnuchin to use blockchain for the next stimulus payment. So it's interesting how it's been labeled as the health scare stimulus payment. So they're trying to package it up, which is a good selling ploy to the public, because it gets people anticipating the fact that there's going to be additional help coming for the people as a result of this health scare. Well, in actuality, universal basic allowance, which was coming all along, they just needed a reason to get it out there. And so, of course, we got words like this to let us know why that is. And so what I wanted to highlight was, it says, the letter urges Treasury to utilize private sector innovations such as blockchain and digital ledger translation, DOT, to support the necessary functions of government to distribute and track relief programs and direct all the guidance support to the U.S. to the use of technology for the current CARES Act. So to track relief programs. So that right there is going to be a major thing, because if it's coming directly from the government, they're spinning it off, the features of blockchain, but yet it's designed to be able to track and to further, add the surveillance state directly into your app on your phone or to your pocket. So it says the letter also addresses the need to stay competitive with China. And so this has to do with all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And here's a list of all the people who sign off on this letter. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These 11 politicians here, they're all trying to get this process underway. And so I would imagine they would want to probably roll this out, have it ready to go by this fall, winter, when there's probably going to be a need to dial back, shut down, or to test the whole lockdown measurements again, entering into the fall, winter season, as the numbers they probably would like to, increase again as far as what we've been told is who's been impacted by this health scare. So I do believe it's in the works and it's coming. It's a part of the plan, and they always needed a cover up to make it work. And I think that's what they're looking forward to using this current one for. Let me see here. Let me check out the chat. Universal was that executive order. Can we eat shark meat? You probably can't eat shark meat. Not sure. It says San Bernardino Airport has hundreds of Mazda SUVs in their empty parking lots. Really, Sean? I appreciate you for sharing that. Wow. Hundreds of Mazdas, SUVs. Metho Nelson, I appreciate that love offering. It says, I hope the Fed buys crypto too. And so, Metho, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago. I was more than confident. That the Federal Reserve would be getting into the cryptocurrency sector in two fronts. They will end up actually buying it Because think about right now, it's on market cap wise, it's relatively small compared to what it was. But then there's articles out here. And so I'll actually go to this next one. And so it's things like this that lets me know that they will be looking to support the cryptocurrency market for the not for the people, but for their buddies that's getting in, under the table. And so of course the exchanges, all the exchanges for cryptocurrencies have been corrupted because of the need for them to be compliant with KYC and know your customer laws and AMIL and all those acronyms they come up with. And so it says SEC commissioner sees increasing demand for cryptocurrency. So when you thumb through here, you get an idea as to how this is being positioned as a alternative for the extremely wealthy to preserve some of their assets as well. So not only will they be buying everything that's on fire sale, such as real estate, equities market, and things like that, they're also going to be buying cryptocurrencies because it's very attractive to the working class as well as those that are looking to profit off of the gains when it comes to cryptocurrency. So they will benefit as well. And so it's no doubt the Federal Reserve will get in to eventually buy some of these things, making their buddies that already got in, the people who are, because I saw an article about Ethereum, more people are buying, more institutions and heavy currency individuals are buying Ethereum because of all the use cases of companies going to the Ethereum blockchain and whatnot. And so, yeah, this stuff right here is being positioned strategically for this time. And I was under the mindset it was going to happen. It has to happen because it's an option. It's a way out of the system. Whether you're a fan of it or not, it will go up because everything else is going down. It says let me see, plus they can't do crypto better than private companies. Yeah, but they're going to try. They're going to try. Brian Brooks for Coinbase chief now with exactly. And then there's another individual that was hired not long ago that's also a part of the Treasury. So this plays into the next article that I think is worth bringing up right now. And so all these articles here are very timely because they help paint a narrative as to what they would like to see happen. And so it says Donald Trump and the Fed could be about to destroy the U.S. banking system. And this article here from Forbes, which came out over the weekend or yesterday, it talks about the Fed and the Treasury being strategically used under Trump. And then they throw in the concept of the current digital currency / the cryptocurrency. So this is all mentioned in this article. But what stood out the most was Warren Buffett. And of course, Buffett, this article here, U.S. airline stocks tumble after Buffett sells whole stakes. And so a part of the reason why I believe Buffett sold is because now that the airlines have been nationalized, in a sense, he doesn't stand to make as much of a profit as he would if it was still a free market operation somewhat. So now the government's in on the airline sector. Buffett may not earn as much, so therefore he dumped it, which puts him in a position probably to buy it again once the government gets out of it. So as always, I've been talking about this for several years, how Buffett is really getting heavy when it comes to cash so that he can buy up everything that's well undervalued after this thing fully crashes or whatever. And so from this article here about Buffett dumping his stocks, he shares a little bit as to why that is. And this is his quote here from his shareholder meeting that he had this past week. It says, quote, "We're doing things that we don't know the ultimate outcome," in regards to the monetary and fiscal policy, but yet alternative, minded individuals know. And so the ultimate outcome of this is the restructuring of our current monetary system into whatever else they would like for us to be ushered into, and it would be more solely digital based. So, I can kind of throw that out there as a good guess. I imagine you can agree. But it says, Buffett said when he asked about the possibility of negative interest rates in the U.S. at Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting on Saturday, he's quoted saying, "Negative interest rates are probably the most interesting question that I've seen in economics," Buffett said, speaking to shareholders via webcast and warning of extreme consequences if a negative interest rate policy is brought in. And so I don't even think we actually have to go actual nominally negative, because we're already in real terms negative, because interest rates currently well below inflation, the artificial inflation number we're being given. But the consequences, as I mentioned before, plays into the outcome. The outcome will be very disastrous. There will be no going back to the norm as far as what we knew in regards to how we conduct our normal lives financially or how our government runs things, because they're going to consolidate. What it looks like, the federal government is consolidating as much of the national assets, airlines. Pretty soon, I'm sure they're going to have to bail out the automotive sector again, like they did last one. But yeah, anything that's an income producer, the federal government is bringing it under its window, and then they will be able to dictate and determine who is able to do what and when this thing dies down a little bit, as we're ushered into more of a top down structure as we're already in now, where government runs more of things that we would like for them not to. And so it says, just like an 04 stock was $1. Ford right now will probably not be in good shape unless Uncle Sam comes in, because they've already had issues before now, but now they're having real issues. Like I saw something about the $2 billion projected loss from the first quarter, and that's just the beginning. It says Buffett is a scavenger. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Buffett is a big player in the direction of our economy, because Berkshire Hathaway, whenever Buffett speaks, the markets move. So whenever he said whatever he's involved in, people pay attention to closely, because of him being in this sector for almost 50 years now. So he knows the inside outs of everything, to where no matter what, as long as he's alive, he's going to be on the winning side, as far as the central banks taking care of him and his company. So that's the bad part about it. But let me get into one more article here, and then we'll dial back, and then we'll pick up a little later. So here's an article here. So once again, as I mentioned, the small business loans, the PPP, is still not working. I imagine by the end of this week, we're going to get news saying that the funds are gone. They're going to be, getting ready for another meeting talking about needing more funds. But it says clock ticking for small businesses squeezed out of the government loans now have a few months or less to survive, survey reveals. And so, of course, the mom and pop stores were never intended to really benefit from this. And even if they do get some funds, it won't be enough to actually get them through this summer, as definitely this fall, because the rest of this year, there's so many unknowns, because there'll be no way of reopening in a way that will make businesses completely profitable unless they're taking advantage of those nine lending facilities where the central banks are coming in directly to support them, of which that's not going to happen for small businesses. So whether these loans make it to them or not, it won't be enough for them to pay and make payroll, nevertheless be able to make a profit, to where they're going to close anyway, unfortunately, by the end of this year. But here's some information from a survey. It says, according to the CNBC SurveyMonkey Small Business Survey released on Monday, today, which surveyed 2,200 small businesses across America, while $660 billion of Paycheck Program was instituted to give them a lifeline through this pandemic shutdown, only 13% of the 45 who applied for it were approved. So those numbers right there lets us know that it's not looking good for small businesses. But this is all a part of their plan, so I'm not surprised at all. Hopefully you are not either. And so I'll put this in the link here for anybody who want to go back further and dive into it. And so, so that's what's happening in the news from the mainstream narrative. But other than that, the Federal Reserve toolkit, more lending facilities. So now there's 9. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a total of 20 by the end of this year. But once again, those facilities are not for your average Joe. So therefore, if you know that they're trying to prop up, protect, and scratch the back of their own buddies, the only thing we can do in being informed with this is to unplug from the system as best as we can by taking matters into your own hands, where it ultimately falls back on you anyway. So says Catbird says Emergency Money for the People Act. So it will allow individuals to get the money through the direct deposit check, prepaid debit card, or money, Venmo. So yeah, that's going to be through that digital process. So I'd imagine the first round of stimulus was designed for them to get all the people who are considered unbanked into the IRS payment system. And then second, third will be the direct payment mechanism, which would be more cell phone based, more cryptocurrency lingo type stuff. But yet, once again, we know it's different between centralized and decentralized. What's coming from them will be centralized completely, as I mentioned in the article, for the purpose of tracking as well as monitoring purchases or whatnot. But then you have the decentralized, which will also be pumped up by the Federal Reserve, because the ultra rich will look to take advantage of that. Like, they'll never let anything that presents an opportunity for them to prosper rather. They're always going to find a way to get their hands in it by funding the corporations that will use those coins or whatnot as they're rolled out. So that's what's happening on the mainstream front. Thought I would just check in. So America's DeVille says, get your weight up more than ever. That's basically what this boils down to. And as I always mention, if you're still plugged into the system, if you still have an overwhelming amount of your financial future still tied into the promises that they've given you, such as you're going to, be able to retire comfortably based upon putting it here and compound interest, right? Okay, it's going to be hard to get compound interest in a negative environment, especially with all these windows that are designed to prop up the institutions, not really the future promises for the people. So, but anyway, I can rant on and on and on. We're going to keep moving. It's as sharp as a razor. This is my lockdown look. But anyway, that's all she wrote. I don't want to rant anymore. Hope everybody enjoyed this. If you are new to the channel and found some value here, feel free to take any of the articles shared, put your 2 cents on it, share it with your family and friends, or just share this video here. And if you're new, subscribe, and definitely would love to connect with you further. Coming back this evening for a live stream. We'd love to hear from you via the phone line, so definitely plug in with us then. And other than that, if you want to be a blessing to the channel, continue to just watch, give it a thumbs up, share it. If you want to contribute and become a partner, feel free to do it via Patreon or donation. And so all that information is down below. And that is all she wrote for this afternoon. I'll see you guys tonight. Be blessed, be safe. I'm going to leave you with this message. Peace. Hey there, sorry for this interruption, but I wanted to bring something to your attention. If you've been enjoying this live stream, why don't you partner with me and be a support to the channel via Patreon membership for just a minimum of $5 a month. All you have to do is scroll down beneath this video here, click the Patreon link, then consider donating as little as $5 a month towards the channel. A little bit of crumbs can go a long way, and I appreciate your support. Now, let's get back to this live stream. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD News updates. And as you can tell from today's title, Congress is coming after your 401k. America's pension crisis is getting worse. I'm going to be covering several different articles, all dealing with the ongoing pension crisis we're experiencing here in America and what is to come. And so we're only 4 days into the new year.